Hello everyone. So today we want to talk about one thing that everyone before they start their data annotation work, they would love to know the answer for. So that is the cost of the data annotation work. So on average, data annotation costs roughly $8 per hour to finish. And then if you want to estimate the cost of your project, you can simply try yourself. Say I spend 30 minutes and I do 100 annotation. Then I just average it out. Each annotation will cost 4 cents. And then with that, you can multiply by the total estimated number of uh, labels needed in the work. And then you can say, I can estimate how much cost is needed for me to complete it. And then there are actually a couple of factors that will affect how much time we spend on the data annotation work. And then we will discuss here one by one. So firstly is the type of annotation. There are a few types like polygon, there were like bounding boxes, there would be polyline, you name it. And then, so the simple way to look at it is like how many docs would be needed in order to complete that object. For example, polygon, that could be complicated ones, there would be 20 docs for the polygon, and then there could be also like just 5 docs on it. And then with polygon is pretty tricky because the range can vary quite widely. But for say bounding boxes is usually 2 docs that would be needed, just the diagonal. You need to draw a rectangle. So that one would be easier to imagine the cost of it. So there will also be polyline. Polyline is the same idea, how many docs you need on this line. So a lot of time, how many docs will be needed on this line would depend on how precise you want the annotation to be. So say I want the bounding box to be, or the polygon to be within 3 pixels to the edge of the object. So with that then, because 3 pixels is pretty small, that allow very little white space. So that will need more number of dots on it. If the requirement can be less, then the cost of it would be cheaper and it would take less time to complete one. The second one is that we need to consider is the number of objects to be annotated. This part is also pretty tricky because the list can go either very short or very long. It can be as short as I just need to annotate apple in this image. That could also be I need to annotate 50 different fruit and vegetables on this image. So you can imagine the time that we need to memorize the list and make sure that every single object will be annotated will be very different, even though it's the same image. So all these will affect the annotated time span. The next one is how many objects will be in this frame. For example, that could be also maybe using the fruit example, there would be 100 small fruits in this image, or there could be just 2 big fruit in the image. This will also really affect the time span because 100 of them is gonna be harder to find the one you need to annotate. So you need to basically find this particular fruit in the whole image. Say orange, there could be something very similar looking like grapefruit, and with that would definitely add the complexity of the project. And then next one, so sometimes the project also require attribute. So especially if I say in autonomous car driving scene, we would need to say annotate maybe the time of the day, where is the image taken, or the weather condition, etc. And then so the longer the list that will be, the more time we will take to finish the annotation. And then, so there will also be one important factor to mention is that how much subjective judgment will be required to complete the annotation. A lot of things cannot really be labeled black and white. especially say the color of a car. It can be silver looking, can be gray looking. Those are very subjective. Sometimes it's just very hard to design, and then if different annotators work on it, they may give different results. So we generally we recommend just setting very strict guidelines, and then there could also be some back and forth communication about it. But the whole subjective judgment will definitely affect the amount of time needed, because sometimes you have to stop and think, hey, is it silver or is it gray? And the more time you have to basically design versus like when you look at it, it's like it's white, it's very obvious, then that would definitely shorten the time. And then one more last thing to mention is the percentage accuracy. Yeah, sometimes like if the project can allow more errors, I say 5% error is very different than 10% error, and then the time spent to basically do the QA work will be less, and then the cost will also be cheaper. So depends on like what type of algorithm it is, what is the use case of it. For autonomous driving, definitely the accuracy requirement will be very high because it's involving life and death. But for some other project, it could be like just picking fruit, like the example I was using. Maybe picking the wrong fruit isn't as like significant, so maybe 90% accuracy would be enough. So these are all factors to be considered. And then when coming up with the instruction, there are a lot of edge cases to be considered. For example, like maybe using autonomous driving car scene. Maybe there would be times that you see the mirror image of it. Does it need to be annotated, or some car that are super far away? So like how small it is. So we will stop annotating. All these will also affect like the time needed, because if you're requiring something very, very far away to annotate, and this will affect accuracy, someone has to really zoom in, and this all take time. And then I think the purpose of it is definitely to minimize cost, but maximizing the algorithm output. And then, yeah, I hope the content today will help you to put together the first time or second time, or to improve your data annotation work, especially it's coming to outsourcing to a third party to do it. And then, yeah, feel free to reach out to me if you want to discuss more about your project. Cheers.